Okay, I had to come on right now because it is Tuesday at 10 a.m. Now, if you've been hanging around Redeem for Time for very long, you know exactly why that's funny. Because this is about the point in the week when that beautiful plan that you made starts meeting real life. Yesterday, when we were together, we talked about the fact that we don't want Monday to start on Monday. So I want to applaud all of you who came into this week with a plan. Yay for you. Because, like I said yesterday, some plan, and even if only some of the plan actually happens, is always going to be better than no plan at all. Now, we all know that we don't just say, here's my plan, and Lord, please put the rubber stamp on it. We want to make sure that we are coming to Him, the author of time, the one who has called us to the business, the ministry, the caretaking, the whatever this season holds for you, right? And make those plans with Him, like it talks about in James 5. But then what happens when your planning meets real life? Because if you made it through Monday and you still felt like you were doing pretty well, you were still on track, kudos to you, because a lot of people didn't make it through Monday. But what happens, right? Maybe for you, it is Tuesday at 10 a.m., or maybe it's Wednesday at 3 p.m., or it really doesn't matter. But there is probably a point in your week where it feels like no matter how beautiful that plan was when the week started, things are starting to go off the rails, right? Things are starting to feel like everything is popping up and you're back to playing that game of whack-a-mole, right? You got everything all lined up and it's all set before the week starts. And then you're just trying to keep putting everything back in place. That is exhausting. And so maybe you started this week. Maybe yesterday you're like, okay, Lissa, this week is going to be different. You knew what mattered. You knew what you wanted to accomplish to move that forward. You maybe even had your planner open. Maybe you even have the Redeem for Time planner already. Maybe you even did a little color coding. I do love a little good color in my planner. And then Monday came and went. Okay. And now it's Tuesday at 10 a.m. And you're finding that either you woke up tired and so it took you a little bit longer to get going, or something took longer than you expected, or technology didn't work, or someone needed you, or you didn't sleep well, or an appointment changed or canceled, or like me, luckily, I set an alarm this morning for 15 minutes before an appointment. I don't usually take appointments as early as it was. And that alarm went off. And you better believe it, I had zero makeup on. I had my hair still up in clips that I sleep in at night. And I was going to have to be on camera in 15 minutes. So maybe you've had one of those moments as well, right? Luckily, I looked at my plan the day before and set a 15-minute alarm to remind me just in case. But maybe you got an email you weren't expecting, or maybe you got a phone call. Or maybe it wasn't anything dramatic at all. Can we just say that sometimes just things don't always go according to plan? It doesn't have to be something major that gets us off track. You know, maybe you're just looking at everything that you thought you would have had done by now and saying, oh my goodness, I am behind. If I had $1 for every time that I heard a woman tell me I'm behind, I would be a rich woman. And this is really what I want to talk about this moment today. This Tuesday at 10 a.m. moment, because usually whenever that moment is for you in your week, again, for you, maybe it was already yesterday, maybe it's happening now, maybe it hasn't even come yet, but whenever that moment happens for you, this is usually when we make one of two mistakes. Okay, what do we tend to do? We either try to work harder and faster to catch up, who's with me, who gets on the hamster wheel, right? Or we mentally throw away the plan and tell ourselves, well, I'll start over tomorrow. Or let's be honest, I'll start over Monday. Maybe next week will be different or better, right? How many of us have done that? I would love to hear, if you're on live or if you're watching the replay, what do you tend to do when plans start going off plan? Do you say, I'm just going to start over tomorrow. Hey, glad you're joining us. Or do you say, you know what? I'm going to start over Monday. When do you tap to do it? When do you say that that's going to be next? And what I want to say is, what if there was another option? What if, even if it was on paper, even if this is where you thought you were going to be by 10 a.m. on a Tuesday or whenever your moment is, what if you are not behind? What if there isn't a reason to catch up? There's no reason to start over because you could simply just return. And this is actually the moment, the 10 a.m. on Tuesday morning moment, is one of the reasons why I created the Stewardship Circle. Not to give you one more place to consume more information about time and all the things you think you should do. How many of us have been on all those time management webinars We bought the programs. I just talked to someone this morning, my appointment at 8:15, and she's like, I have a stack of planners. She's like, I finally realized it wasn't another planner. That wasn't actually fixing my problem with my time and feeling behind and feeling busy. Nobody wants one more planner collecting dust in the corner of their desk. Nobody wants one more webinar that you go to on time management telling you how to get better at managing your time. And then it meets real life. Hello, Tuesday at 10 a.m. Right? And so the Stewardship Circle, one of the benefits of being a member of the Stewardship Circle, and you can become a member when you upgrade and you become paid, is that you can bring your Tuesday at 10 a.m. questions anytime. We have a chat where you can at any time take a picture of your planner or share a, Lissa, I just had a Tuesday at 10 a.m. moment, and ask for some support. I call that timely coaching, right? You may be like, Lissa, my plan changed. What do I do now? Or this thing just landed in my lap. How do I discern if this is something I need to give time to or if it's not? Or maybe it's like, Lissa, I thought this was my priority today, but now this has happened. So how do I figure out what gets my attention when the time didn't change, but what's trying to fill it did? Because here's the thing. You can do all the beautiful planning that you want. As a paid subscriber, you get the Faithful Week framework. You can build out that beautiful Faithful Week, and you can sit down and actually build it out for the week that you are going into. But faithful stewardship of that plan doesn't just happen because you have a plan on paper. It's actually something that we have to practice as the week goes and as the week doesn't go according to plan, right? It's what helps us know what to do when it doesn't, because you have something to return to. So if you're already an annual member of the Stewardship Circle, make sure you say hi in the comments. You are my Tuesday at 10 a.m. people now, okay? And I will be watching that chat for when you are popping in there to say, Lissa, I just had a Tuesday at 10 a.m. moment. What do I do so I don't just say, I'm going to restart tomorrow or I'll restart next Monday, right? We're trying to avoid restarting every Monday. And if you're already listening to this and thinking, yep, I could use some of that kind of help in my life, right? Like you don't have to wait. You can click the subscribe link, choose annual, and join us, because through today, it's only $80 for the entire year, right? And not only do you get access to that timely coaching in the chat where you can ask your Tuesday at 10 a.m. coaching questions, but you're also going to get access to all of our live intensives that we do each month, which are going to help you approach your time from a place of stewardship. And as I've been having conversations with so many subscribers here on Substack, one thing that I'm hearing is, Lissa, I don't have time for one more thing. And you know what? I actually love that response. Do you know why? Because that is exactly why the Stewardship Circle exists. This is not to be one more thing that gets added to your plate and now there's more I have to consume and do. This is actually what's going to help you approach the time you already have to do the very thing that God has called you to do, whether that's growing your business, whether that's building a ministry, whether that's caretaking, whether that's taking care of your home, working in a job, right? Time can either be the obstacle to all of those things, or it can be the opportunity. And when we look at time, not as this limited resource that I have to keep contained or under control, hello whack-a-mole, right? That's what it means to manage our time, to keep it contained or under control. But this beautiful gift to receive, we've been talking about that in the podcast, and then to steward, to invest on behalf of the one who gave it to me, the author of time, then our weeks look totally different. But it does involve us doing faithful planning. And so here is what I want to encourage you to practice today. Inside the Faithful Week framework, which is the immediate resource that you get when you become a paid subscriber, one of the things I'm going to teach you is to return instead of restart. Okay? How good would it feel if you returned instead of restarted? Because when we're restarting, we're kind of either throwing everything out or feeling like, you know, like I'm just in this place that there's no hope for coming back from. I need a refresh start. Here's the thing. A faithful week is never supposed to be a perfect week. Who needed to hear that? A faithful week was never supposed to be a perfect week. So if the only way that your planning system works is if you execute the plan exactly as you wrote it, hello, that's not a very useful planning system for real life, because the kids or grandkids do get sick and the meetings do run long and your energy often isn't what you expect. And someone calls or you get a message or God redirects or life happens. So the goal isn't to build a week that prevents a Tuesday at 10 a.m. It's to build a week that can survive a Tuesday at 10 a.m. And that's where the question that is so foundational to everything here at Redeem Her Time, this is where it becomes really powerful. If you have been hanging around Redeem Her Time, if you're one of my Stewardship Circle people, say hi in the chat. You can probably even drop in the chat before I say it. What is the question that we are always coming back to? It is not, what time is it? It's not, how do I get caught up? It's not, why do I feel behind? Although you may be thinking those things. The question we always come back to that literally starts shaping everything is, what is it time for? Listen to the difference. They're almost the exact same words, just a little different order. What time is it? Right? And all of a sudden, I feel like I'm behind. And I, in some way, have been off track, off plan. And now I need to figure out how to restart. But when I pause and ask the question, what is it time for? Now I am returning. You see the difference? I am returning to what the Lord had already put on my heart when I looked ahead at the week, or maybe when I looked ahead at today. Instead of saying, how do I squeeze everything back in? Or how am I going to get all this done? It's pausing and looking at not only the time that's actually in front of you, but the purpose for which the Lord gave it to you. And when you ask, Lord, what is it time for now? Then you are returning to what he's already shown you, not trying to restart all over again. So maybe for you, it's time to return to that priority, that one thing focus, I call it, that you already identified, that one thing that you know he is calling you to move forward in this season, or this month, or this week, or today. Maybe it's time to move that thing forward. Maybe it's time to say no. I think that is really a wisdom decision, that we know what to say no to in order to protect our yeses and the yeses that we are called to. Maybe it's time to rest. I had that conversation with someone this morning. So often we work for rest, right? Like when I get my work done, then I'll rest. But really, scripture teaches us we work from rest. And I was sharing with this woman today that Adam and Eve's first day in the job was rest, Sabbath rest. And then they worked, right? And I love the fact that the Lord set that rhythm. So maybe for you, it's time to rest. Maybe it is time to respond to an interruption that really does deserve your attention. I truly believe there are divine interruptions. And maybe really instead of seen as an interruption, it's really a divine invitation. Have you ever had one of those when you had a plan, when you knew what you were supposed to be doing or what you thought you were supposed to be doing, and the Lord brought something else that you didn't even expect or think of, and you knew in that moment that that was exactly what you were supposed to be doing at that time? Like, that is a beautiful experience. And that doesn't happen when we're playing whack-a-mole on Tuesday at 10 a.m., just trying to keep all of our things lined up that we put pretty on our calendar, right? That's what stewardship says. Like, let me come back and ask the question, what is it time for? Is this a divine invitation? Or is this simply an interruption that I need to either put in a different time place or say, it's not time for that? Maybe it's time to release something you thought had to happen this week. Who, thinks that you can get more done with your time than you actually can? Like, that is stewardship, for us to stop and ask that question, not trying to control every minute and cram something into all of that, but to learn to faithfully respond to the time you've been given. That is what stewardship is all about, right? And inside the Faithful Week framework, one of the things that I teach you is that a faithful week isn't measured by everything you accomplished. Who needs to hear that, right? Because for so long, I was chasing my to-do list and I felt like I wasn't enough or I wasn't doing enough when I wasn't getting to the end of it and it was just getting longer. A faithful week is actually measured by your willingness to keep returning to what the Lord has shown you matters most. That's what faithfulness is all about. It's not about perfection. It's about being faithful to the one who has called us to not only a relationship with him, but to the time that he's put in front of us and what he has given us to do again and again and again. And that is exactly what we're going to be practicing inside the Stewardship Circle. Because I don't want you to listen to the podcast on Sunday or read an article on Tuesday and think, wow, that's good. And then get to a Tuesday at 10 a.m. and have absolutely no idea what that means for the calendar sitting in front of you, right? This is how faithful planning meets real life and how we approach time as something to steward not something to manage. And I say this all the time because I think this is the deeper conversation around our time. We all want to jump into, give me the planner, give me the way to map out my week, give me the way to organize my to-do list. And those are all really great tools. But when we start with just the methodology, it doesn't always get us the results that we're looking for or the results that the Lord actually intended. It's really when we have a right theology of time and of the author of time, that's what leads to the right methodology, what we do with our time. And that shapes everything about who we become over time. And so I truly believe we are having this conversation because we need both. I tried the methodology route. I tried the planners, the programs, the All Start Monday plans, and they only worked for so long. And it never really changed that busyness. I'm behind. It feels like all of my plans every day feels like a Tuesday at 10 a.m. moment. Let me just be honest, until I started spending time with the author of time and really getting clear on why he gave me time in the first place and what he's calling me to steward with that time. And then how do I make those intentional decisions on a Tuesday at 10 a.m.? So when you join the stewardship circle by upgrading, the first place I want you to start is with the Faithful Week framework. And if you were listening to this video somewhere else, you can come over to Substack, right? And you can find me at redeemhertime.com/Substack. And that is where you can upgrade to be an annual member. And I'm going to help you with this resource to build a week around what God has actually entrusted to you in this season. I'm actually going to show you how we need to reset our Faithful Week framework plan seasonally, because there are going to be adjustments. There are going to be times when what was working a month or two ago isn't what's working now because it's not time for it now. And so I want to help you build a week around what God has actually entrusted to you in this season. And that includes priorities before plans. You have to know what your oranges are, like we talked about yesterday, and put those into your plan first. And I'm going to teach you about how to do time anchoring instead of time blocking, and how that gives the freedom and flexibility to be able to respond when the wind and the waves come. Hello, Tuesday at 10 a.m. moments. And I'm going to teach you how to make sure that you build in margin before you add more. And we're not going to be assigning a task every minute. Don't worry. This is not what you've tried before. We're going to create a faithful rhythm that you can return to on a Tuesday at 10 a.m. You can return to when you have that moment when it feels like all of your plans are going out the window and you're tempted to either, get on the hamster wheel and try to outwork it, or you're tempted to throw your hands up and say, why bother? I'll start over Monday, right? So that is the resource you're going to get immediately when you subscribe to the Stewardship Circle. And that is what we're going to be working through so we can build out what yours looks like. And then every month we're going to come together for a Faithful Living Intensive, where we're going to work through a different area of our time and what it looks like to steward it. And you're going to start building your stewardship field guide. So you're going to have tools when you encounter these different parts of these different things that relate to your time. And we're going to be practicing it in between. So that way we're going to be approaching our time in a whole different way than we ever have before. And between those, you're going to have the circle chat for exactly what we're talking about today. Timely support when real life meets the plan, when it's Tuesday at 10 a.m. So I'm giving you permission when you are a paid subscriber to bring the question, bring your messy week, bring a screenshot of your planner and say, Lissa, what do I do with this? What belongs here or what needs to go? And the first question I'm going to ask you is, what is it time for? For those of you who've already joined us, please start using the circle chat that way, okay? Because you have permissions to be able to do that. But for the rest of you, I don't want you sitting in the sidelines thinking that you have to have a brilliant question. Just bring an ordinary Tuesday at 10 a.m. What is your real life looking like? And how are you discerning what it's time for? And what are maybe some of the things that tend to come up for you? Noticing that is always going to be the first step. And then knowing that we have something to return to is going to help make sure that we can look back and say, my week was faithful, right? Because I was faithfully stewarding what the Lord entrusted to me this week, even if it wasn't exactly going by plan, right? So if you haven't joined us yet, here's why I'm talking about this today, because today is the last day of the $80 introductory annual price. Yes, tomorrow you can still join the Stewardship Circle. You'll still get the Faithful Week framework. You still get the Faithful Living Intensives. You still get the field guides and the support. You're just going to pay $100 for the exact same thing. So if you've been thinking about joining us, there is not an advantage to waiting until tomorrow, right? So go ahead and click that subscribe link and choose the annual membership, because change takes time, right? pun fully intended. And it's this beautiful journey that as we walk differently in the context of time, it will change everything about who you become and the thing that you are moving forward that God has called you to do. So I encourage you, if you haven't already done that, go ahead and upgrade, become an annual member. Let's start off with your Faithful Week framework right away so we can start thinking about what does your Faithful Week look like in this season? And then bring me your Tuesday at 10 a.m. questions, because that's where our faithful planning is going to meet real life. And there's one other reason that I just want to say this before I go. I just was having this conversation with someone. I think we underestimate how hard it is to live differently when all the voices around us, right, and everything that comes in this way says do more and hurry up and you're behind and you should be able to handle this and you just need to be more disciplined or more organized or be better at managing your time and you need another system. You need to try harder. You need to get up earlier, stay up later. This is not the conversation that we are having inside the stewardship circle. Like, I want you to feel like you are surrounded by women who are learning to ask different questions, who are slowing down to say, what has God entrusted to me? What does matter most in this season? Is this even actually mine to carry? How many of us need permission to maybe not take on things or to be able to hand off things that we took on that weren't even ours to carry in the first place? All because we're coming back to that really foundational question, what is it time for? And I want women in the stewardship circle who aren't trying to create a perfect week, but are committed to practicing that faithful stewardship in the middle of a real one, right? So if you're already inside, would you please say something in the comments and say, yes, here's where my Tuesday at 10 a.m. moment happens. And I would love to hear what made you decide to join the stewardship circle, right? So if you are already a member of the stewardship circle, tell us why, or come over into the stewardship circle chat and share over there. Because I want women who are considering it to hear from somebody besides me. Some of you we've been walking together for years. And I love the fact that not only are you seeing the changes, one woman who just signed the stewardship circle here, she and I have been working in another capacity for about 3 years now. And what I love is that one day I think it was her mom or her mother-in-law said to her, something's different. And you know why? She had one of those Tuesday at 10 a.m. moments where something happened that in the past she would have stressed out about. She would have all of a sudden thought, I don't have enough time for this. I don't know how I'm going to do this. This is not possible. And her mother or mother-in-law, sorry, I can't remember which one it was, actually said to her, wait, there's something different. And she was like, yes, because I'm learning what it means to ask the question, what is it time for? And I'm approaching my time as something to steward, not something to manage. And I just love that story because that is the fruit of what we are doing. So here we are. It's now Tuesday at 10:22 a.m. Maybe your week is exactly going according to plan. Good for you. Maybe it will, maybe it isn't. And if that's okay, don't start over. Okay. And don't try to race the clock trying to catch up. Here's a simple practice I'm giving you today. Okay. When you start feeling the angst of a Tuesday at 10 a.m. moment, I simply want you to do this. Pause and ask the question, what is it time for? Don't rush it. You may already have it, right, written in your weekly plan for the week, or maybe it wasn't even part of the plan when you started the week. That's okay. Just take your next faithful step. And maybe for you right now, your next faithful step is simply practicing that question today. Or maybe your next faithful step is joining the stewardship circle by becoming a paid member and getting that annual opportunity, because this is how we're going to learn to live a different way. This is how we're going to have a different way to approach our time and the Tuesday at 10 a.m. moments. And I love having other women around me who are practicing it too. So if that's you, come join us inside the stewardship circle. You don't have to wait until you have a Tuesday at 10 a.m. moment. Like, let's get some support around you and a whole new way of thinking and a resource to start creating your faithful week. And guess what? Our first intensive is going to be next week. So you can join tomorrow, but you're going to pay more to come to that same thing. So when you do it today and you choose annual, it's $80 for the entire year. Okay. And I'm going to say this one more time because I don't want you emailing me tomorrow, because on Wednesday, tomorrow, it's going to be $100 for the exact same membership. Nothing's going to change tomorrow. You're not going to unlock something extra by waiting tomorrow. Today is simply the last day to get in and say, you know what? My time does matter. I saved this in a note on my phone. And I put it in our chat. I thought this was so interesting. I was reading a novel the other night, and the main character said, time is the valued currency of a wise life. And I thought, wow, as believers, Are we approaching our time as our most valued currency? And are we using wisdom that ultimately comes from Him about what to do with it? Right? This is what we are doing inside the stewardship circle. So if you're already inside, I'm so glad you're here. Go get your faithful week framework if you haven't yet. Let's start building out what your faithful week looks like. For a lot of you, you may be starting to head into fall schedules and routines and rhythms because kids are going back to school, or things at church are starting back up again, or your business, has some things getting ready for Q4. So this is a great time of year to say, what would my faithful week look like? And then come into the circle, introduce yourself, tell us what it's time for. I'm always going to ask you that question when you come in. We want to know, what is it time for? What are you stewarding in this season? And then I'm going to encourage you, bring us your Tuesday at 10 a.m. moments, because you don't need to have another week that you just have to start over, hoping that, next week something will be different. You need a faithful rhythm that you know how to return to again and again and again, because you know how to answer the question, what is it time for? So I will see you guys over inside the stewardship circle. I can't wait to welcome you there and help you start knowing what to do on a Tuesday at 10 a.m.